Hey guys, I'm just going to make a quick video just to get you started on your Photoshop project. So if we look at make sure that you read over the project worksheet in week 3, the Photoshop Self-Portrait project worksheet. It's a PDF. I also did create a video going over it that you can click on and it'll take you to YouTube. So with a YouTube video that you can watch where I read through and kind of explain the project to you, and that might be helpful. But another thing, I just wanted to kind of get you started. If we go into Photoshop, just make sure you're in Window Workspace Essentials. So just make sure you get there. And another thing to do would be to start your actual project, just do File, New. And let's go to Print, because this is going to be printed. And we can put this on inches if it isn't on inches. And then just make sure the width is 8.5 by, and the height is 11. So it needs to be 8.5 inches wide by 11 inches tall. If you have a composition that you're working with that you think will work better the other way, so 11 inches tall by 8.5 inches high, you can quickly change the orientation of the canvas by clicking on either one of these. So if you have something that's that's just going to work better with more space, wide, with it being wider, a lot of times certain compositions do work better with the width being 11 and the height being 8.5. So it's kind of up to you to choose whichever one works for you, but it should be 8.5 by 11 or 11 by 8.5 as the width and heights on your documents. I do want you to have a standard width and height on your document. And then the resolution should be 300. We want the color mode in CMYK color because we're going to be printing these in theory. Even if you're an online student, put it in CMYK color because in theory these would be printed. Definitely if you are in the class with me face-to-face, they will be printed and we will be doing a critique. The background contents, a lot of times I say just leave it transparent. Sometimes you can do black or white, but like really I say leave it transparent. These advanced options, we shouldn't have to go into here at all. So you can close that up if it's open and then just push create. And so this is your canvas. You can actually begin bringing in images. You might want to, select your images either from your phone on your camera, because your camera, most cameras that students have, I've noticed, are really, the phones that they have are newer, or even if it's not that new, you can still take pretty good pictures with it. Still pretty high resolution pictures. So, if you have a Mac computer or an iPhone, and you can AirDrop your images from your computer onto your from your phone onto your computer, or you can even plug in your phone to your computer and go into it and find the photos that you want and put them on your computer that way. Or you can email them to yourself, but don't put them in the body of the email. Attach them as an attachment to your email and then send it to yourself and then download it to get it onto your computer. Sometimes that works. If you send it to yourself on Facebook, like through Facebook Messenger, I think Facebook will typically, at least they used to, bring down the quality of your image automatically before it even gets sent off. So I don't suggest doing that, but you can email yourself. You can also use a zip drive to get, well, I don't know how well that would work on your phone. You can use Google Drive. If you have a Google account, you can put your images on Google Drive and then, from your phone, and then go onto your computer and download them from the drive to get them on your computer. There's a couple different ways. Some people have Dropbox accounts. So, it's up to you how you decide to get the images on your phone onto your computer. But, the next step basically is to kind of, after doing your thumbnails, is to find high resolution, good quality images that you can work with. Obviously, you need to have at least one photo of yourself. So you might have to take a photo for this project. That's going to work for you. And let's go into Safari. This is one of the good websites, freepix.com. You can get vectors, but really what you're probably going to want most is either PSDs or photos. And you can kind of go into either one of these. You can search. Like maybe I want a mountain background. Maybe I want a really nice one, and I want to find a free one, so I have to kind of search by free. And let's say I really am liking this one. So I can actually go into this one and then download it. And just push download. You can choose what size. I would say most of the time going with the original size is going to be probably the best idea. And it goes into my downloads folder, and as you can see, here it is. It actually just automatically opened. Oops, I'm getting a lot of those. It automatically opened up in preview. It does that on a Mac a lot of times. But if I want to bring it into Photoshop, I can do File, Place Embedded. So remember, the Place Embedded is how we bring images in. And I can go to my downloads folder and bring this image in. And I might want to, you know, size it up. When you first bring an image in, you're going to have this blue X through it with these white things, which means that it's already on Free Transform. I didn't have to go to Edit, Free Transform to resize this yet, because right when you first bring an image in, Photoshop is kind enough to, you know, keep it so that I can resize it. So, I mean, you know, once I get it to the size I want it to be, I can push return on my keyboard, and there you go. Another thing to remember is to put this in CMYK color. It should already be in it since we set the document up in CMYK, but it's always a good idea to double check. You know, if you want to do any adjustment layers, there's a lot of things to, you know, to play with here. We didn't do color balance, but you can play with this one. Maybe I want it to be more of a red image. You know, maybe I want it even more cyan, which is blue. So it's kind of up to you. You know, you can play with these adjustment layers to create colors that a lot of color can really help out the mood of your image too. And like if I have an image of myself, I can do a file open and open that up separately. So let's say that this is me. It's not, obviously. I'm going to delete this extra layer. But so let's say this is me, and I want to select me. A good way to do it is you can use the object selection, especially if you have a background that is very solid. So the object selection tool is going to do a really good job of selecting the object in this image because the background is solid. So it did a pretty good job. You know, this little rose over here, there's a few issues with that, and there's a little bit of an issue here, but I can quickly go into Select and Mask and Command plus to zoom in, or I can use the zoom tool here. And I can just quickly, maybe I want to use the quick selection tool to subtract some of this yellow that's in here, maybe some of the yellow that's there. That looks pretty good. This green is not really something I want in there, so I'll touch on that a little bit with the quick selection minus tool. I can adjust the size of my brush too. So this one clipped up really nicely. It does depend, you know, your clip can really go a lot smoother depending on what the background is looking like. So this image is really easy to clip because, yeah, it had a really plain background that makes clipping a lot easier. But then we can feather it a little bit. I'm going to put, like, you know, maybe close to 4 pixels of feathering in there. And then I just need to put my output to layer mask, push OK. And here we go. Here's the clip image of me. I'm going to make sure I'm in CMYK color just to make sure. And then I'm going to save it. So I saved that. Hopefully I saved this file save as in my documents folder. Documents, graphic design 231. I need to make a new folder, Photoshop self-portrait project. And then I can put all of my images in here. So here's me. PSD file is great because it'll preserve that transparent background. A JPEG will not, so don't use JPEGs if you want to have a clipped image with a transparent background. Use a PSD file. Those work pretty well. And then I'm going to go back into my original composition, do a file save as, and I'm going to save it to my computer in that same folder within my graphic design 231, Photoshop self-portrait. This is in my documents. Format Photoshop file. I want this to be a PSD so that I can have all of my layers included. And I'll name this Mary Photoshop self-portrait. I can spell. So yeah, that is a pretty good way of saving this with camel case. You can also do underscores if you don't like camel case. Push save. And so I have both of these things saved separately, but this is going to be my composition that I bring things into. So I can do a file, place embedded, and I can bring in, this PSD of myself, which isn't actually me. And I can do separate color treatments to, to this file. If I want to do that, I can just, as long as it's a smart object, you can tell it's a smart object if it has like this little icon of like a couple of boxes in the lower right of the thumbnail in the layers panel. If you double click on that, it will take you to that same file that you were in, and then you can do your maybe I want to do like a hue saturation, and maybe I really want to just saturate myself. And then if you just Command S that to save it, you just saved over the old me file, and we go in here and it automatically updates. So that's kind of a quick little way of doing that. Working with the what is that called? Smart object. But anyway, that's kind of the gist of what you're probably going to be doing with this project. You can bring other elements in. You can split this in half. A lot of you guys have thumbnails that you're going to be working from, so just do the best you can. Try and make it interesting. Try and use color. Try and use try and clip some images. You're supposed to have at least 2 clipped images. You're supposed to have 4 layers. It's supposed to be in CMYK color mode. And it's supposed to be 8.5 by 11, the size of your canvas, or 11 by 8.5, either way. So look at that project worksheet. I haven't gone over all of the requirements that I put on that project worksheet, but I just kind of wanted to get you started on what this is going to be looking like for you. For the most part, I mean, as a beginning project, this is probably what it's going to be looking like for you, definitely. Anyway, we'll talk to you later, and hopefully this was a helpful video for you.